Damn GIF. Well, that was almost smooth.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Nubukutis for Death.
Oh, shit.
With our boy Joe Ball. What's going on, Balla? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Just finished bashing some, KFC, as I like to do. I'm not even kidding. I really had KFC for, the first time in 2.5 years.
Oh, shit, man. I haven't eaten KFC in probably, close to a decade now. Yeah.
Well, it's so expensive now, and it's almost a waste of time because, half of them won't even open their lobbies still. Even in places like here in Ohio where, nobody gives a shit about COVID. We just go on with life as is. But, so their drive-through lines, always out to the street. So basically, all rational human beings that want to eat in under 2 hours will just go cook their own food if that's what they're going to have to put up with.
To be honest with you, I've started trying to cook my own food more just over the past year just because lines and also, I don't know. I don't want to eat fast food anymore, man. I've spent a lot of time eating that shit and, I think I'm done. But, I understand the struggle is real, man. Taco Bell is my fast food weakness.
Hey, at least there's vegetables in it. At least there's something almost legitimate there.
Yeah, they're what are they? They're cantina bowls. They're not completely horrible. They're only partially horrible.
Yeah, and partially is, let's be honest, this is America. That's good enough.
It's better than nothing. That's for sure.
Yeah.
What's going on, Flying Feline? Thank you for coming to hang out. Good
What up,
to see
Feline?
you. Thank you for coming to hang out. As a matter of fact, yes, I think I need a scotch. Actually,
Well,
I don't know if you saw my post, but as I was leaving a parking lot today, some blithering jackass sideswiped me.
oh no!
Yeah, and I actually couldn't get out of the car. The door was actually kind of jarred shut, so I had to bust my way out and then had to find a way to get the door shut again.
So you had to bust your way out, chase him down, and then shoot him. I like where this story's going.
Oh yeah, it was a good scene, man. It was a good scene. It's definite good fodder for the next story that I'm working on. No, the funny thing is this dude was in a silver truck and he came up on me all of a sudden, but his wheel kind of got kicked in. I was able to drive my car away from the scene, so it wasn't as bad as it could have been for me. But he had to get his towed, from what I understand.
Still though, man, it seems like these days it's always something. Every goddamn day. And at some point people just need a little peace in their life.
Yeah.
And then things like getting, having a little car wreck don't seem so bad when they're rare compared to all the other stuff people have to put up with in a day.
Well, it's been one thing after another this summer. At the beginning of summer, my AC went out, and I spent 2, 3, almost a month. Actually, I guess it was about a month with no AC.
God, I don't even know if I could live that way anymore.
It was fucking brutal, man. The only reason why I survived is because I had a couple of friends that let me borrow one of those standing refrigerator or standing AC units that you then have the hose that goes out to the window. And yeah. So I had that, and I had fans just circulating the air through the house. So I got it down to about 78, I think, was about the lowest I was able to get it. But
that's still pretty toasty, but I guess it's better than what it could be.
Christ, man, it could have been fucking 85, 90 in there. Oh
yeah, you're down below the swamp. You're actually under the water of the swamps, where it's somehow even hotter than it is.
Oh, the humidity is just ballistic, man. It's heinous. But yeah, thancefully, the condo worked to my advantage because I'm on the lower floor and I don't get a whole lot of sunlight in, so it helped it stay nice and cave-like. Yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to get it down that low, So, but yeah, and it's just one thing after another this summer. So, going to gonna take a shot at scotch.
Knocking down them booze.
That's exactly it. Sometimes you just got it, right? So,
Yeah, I say those sometimes or all the time.
Well, this summer, yeah.
No excuses needed.
I've got a nice hefty collection of Scotch bottles over there that I have severely added to this summer. So, yes. So, Joe, how long you been drawing, man?
I've been drawing ever since I was like a little child, probably around the age of like 5 or 6. I really started to do it constantly. You know, I was always looking at comics, always trying to draw pictures out of comic books.
Hell yeah.
Drawing any cartoon characters I like to watch, you know, because I was a cartoon fiend as a kid, like most people were in the 80s and the early 90s. But so at this point, though, I'd say like professionally, I started working like right out of high school. So it's been almost 20 years now. I've been doing this in some paid capacity.
That's awesome, man.
I mean, it hasn't all been comic books. It's been like graphic design, novel covers. It's been a whole mishmash of stuff. But you know, it was partially too like, especially in the early 2000s. Like it was a lot harder to find the work than it is now, where there's these good online resources where you can pick up work left and right if you need to. But and somehow the SJW still complain that, you know, when they're losing their jobs at Marvel and DC, it's like there's still a plethora of art jobs, you guys. There's literally more storyboard jobs than I can count, and 2D art jobs I can count on the internet. I mean, and it's crazy.
That's where a lot of our OG comic book artists went. Like Jeff Matsuda went to storyboards. Stephen Platt went to storyboards. I mean, like basically all the people that made comics cool in like the early 90s, like kind of went to go do storyboards because that's where the money was at.
Oh yeah, you can still make a middle class, you know, upper middle class living off of that, depending on where you're at in the country. You know, I'm sure if you're in Los Angeles or New York City, you're still riding that line between middle and lower middle. But exempting, you know, these 2 or 3 places, you can basically be pretty comfortable off that line of work.
Absolutely. It was one of the other things that I considered, you know, outside of comics. You know, I have a degree in graphic design, but you know, drawing comics has always been my passion. I got the graphic design degree just because, you know, I wanted to have something to fall back on because, you know, this is a competitive field. I mean, getting more so every day, but, you know, I think we're in a very unique, time period for indie comics, just because it really reminds me a lot of the go-getter spirit of the 80s scene, you know, the black and white 80s scene that spawned the Ninja Turtles and, you know, the Flaming Carrot and all that other stuff. Like that scene was like, it was vibrant, and anybody that had like a couple grand and a dream and put the fucking hard work in, they made their book. Yeah. You know, they weren't all Ninja Turtle success because, I mean, what the fuck is, you know? But
well, yeah, there's always basically out of any indie scene, no matter what it relates to, like what entertainment field, about once every 10 to 20 years, there's 1 to 2 things that really skyrocket. And as we saw with Turtles, it's part and partial because they sillied it up. But for most of us, that was our first experience with Turtles, so we're still very fond of even the, you know, the kiddie side of it and the toys and all that stuff. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember seeing the cartoon and thinking it looked a little silly, and still enjoying it, you know, because ninjas, why the fuck not? And then coming across the comic book later and being like, oh, wow, this is much cooler. Because I mean, Raphael was set up straight as an assassin, like threw a sai or a knife through Shredder's window. It was like, come on out, bitch, and die. that was essentially what the note said. What's up, Pedro?
I don't think anybody realized that, like, you know, if your first experience with Ninja Turtles was the TV show and the toys, you had no comprehension that there was a comic book out there where essentially the Turtles were like a team of little pricks. And they were violent and they were mean and they would dogpile people and just all start stabbing a guy at once. Like, okay, we can't defeat this giant Triceratops, so we're all just going to jump on him and stab him as much as possible.
I mean, that's a reasonable, you know, it's a reasonable tactic. Yeah, this is my pipe Strider, Joe. This is my calm down pipe. This is
You
this
named
is
your
mine.
pipe?
Oh yeah, I name all of my pieces.
I've never been big on naming things that weren't children of mine, but
I mean that's fair.
you know, a lot of people still do it. When I was a kid, my mom bought like a Chrysler off this old lady, and she called her car Johnny. And even when I was a kid, I was like, "This fucking old lady's on something. Who the hell names a car?" Like, even though people do that stuff all the time, even as a kid, like I couldn't wrap my brain around like what the point of that was. But now I'm old and I'm an adult, and I'm just like, whatever. People want to name their
I
stuff,
still
they
don't
just-
get it, but I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't personally offend me any longer.
Yeah, doesn't confuse me as much as it does. I just don't care anymore. So yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It looks like a Strider. You know, it kind of reminds me of the pipe that Aragorn had in. The
It's a
first
very
Lord
cool
of the Rings.
pipe.
Yeah, you know, it's got a nice
I used
little
to have
stone
kind of
bowl.
like a tiny version of that, like a mini black one that was it. Was that made of wood?
Yeah, this one's made of wood and it's got
Yeah.
a stone bowl in it. Very well constructed. I had to add a little bit of friction tape in order to get the stem to stay in.
I've
'Cause
had
it
to
just-
move a lot, so all of my pipes usually meet the untimely death of a hammer
Gee.
thrown in a bag and
Oh,
then thrown in the trash because I'm not putting them in a moving truck all nasty and full of gunk. But I also come
Yeah.
from a time when it was still like an issue to get caught with that stuff. Well, in Ohio now,
yeah.
you get busted with like you can get busted with a lot of weed, and they basically just slap your wrist and give you a ticket and say, "Okay, don't be out with a bunch of weed again, or we might have to get you on trafficking." So
Yeah.
it's a different world now. Like just nobody cares around here like they did 10 and 15 years ago.
There's bigger fish to fry these days, my friend. Bigger fish to fry.
Well, it's weird because there's like these minority of small town people that I've known for years now, and now that it's not such a taboo thing, like they'll just casually start talking about how they smoke weed, and I'm like, "You're on city council. What the fuck's wrong with you, dude? Like, keep your mouth shut. You shouldn't be talking about." Like my
Just don't be
old
saying that
instincts
out in
kick
public.
in.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's fine. You do that behind closed doors. Everybody got the right to chill out, but
We all know the judge's son is a meth head. We just leave it alone. Come on, man.
Jesus. I mean, everybody's allowed to have their vices, just as long as you do your job right when you're at your job. Everybody's
Exactly.
allowed to have their time off.
Yeah.
You
I'm the same way, dude. As long as you're doing your job, you can go home and relax however you please. If it's not, negatively affecting wives or kids or things to that degree,
Absolutely.
I really don't care. Even on hard drugs, I don't care if some guy lives alone and goes home and wants a blast coke. Go for it, dude. I really
Why
care
not?
less what you do with yourself.
Exactly. Ain't no skin off my nose.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that's the freedom of it. But when you go to work, when you've got a job to do, you do your job. 100%,
Yeah, you got to straighten up.
Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, for I don't know, for decades, the fucking functioning alcoholic, right?
Yeah.
Just long as that doesn't lead to hurting somebody else, because sometimes the alcoholics.
Well, and there's fields of work for people that can't, can't separate
It's true.
themselves. And we've all worked some
It's
shitty
true.
job where we know that one guy where we're like, yeah, dude over there in the kitchen goes out back and smokes crack on break. You can tell because he hits his cigarette like it's a crack pipe. We're not stupid what he's doing. Like nobody smokes cigarettes like that.
There's a certain I don't know. There's a certain body language that they use. Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, I worked at we have a little college here called Wilmington Quaker College. It's like an agricultural school.
Yeah.
And they have a pretty sizable cafeteria. I mean, the place is huge. It's basically a giant restaurant, all that good stuff, salad bars, cake bars, all kinds of cool shit. But the entire kitchen staff were like fucking drug addicts. And I worked there in the dish room when I was like young, and I was like, good Lord, this entire, like all 10 dudes that say we're making food in bulk. So it took a lot of people to do it all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, every one of them was a coke or crackhead.
Oh,
And
no.
I felt like I was in another universe at that age. Because, I hadn't been exposed to much of it. I'd been around some potheads,
Right.
but.
Yeah, pot's one thing, but then, you get around people that are into like serious drugs like heroin and meth and crack and coke, and you're just like, wow, that's a little bit different, isn't it? Okay.
They all slowly went crazy. Like, it was inevitable. Like, I was meeting these people as I had already had a daily habit for probably 20 years at that point. And I was getting there right when they were getting like middle-aged, and it was making them completely just mentally off. So it was like, look at these fucking dudes. They're bashing out some food for these kids, that's for sure. But I don't know if the parents that pay the insane prices of this rinky-dink school understand a bunch of meth heads feed their kids every day. But it's all right. They
Fucking
got
hell.
the job done.
I mean, meth is that shit rots you from the inside, man. Like we've had a problem with that here in Florida. Like there was an epidemic of that shit. Like
Well, Florida's got meth. I think Ohio, we're kind of like the same problem as the rest of the Midwest. We had the opiate spike was really bad for a while, like to the point where you would just see people. You would see people even in little towns like where I live walking the streets, and they look like literal zombies, like dragging their body parts as they move forward. Like
yeah.
It's like we've got to get these people out of here. Because what happens is how every town is. You know who your bums are. Like there's always like a couple of dudes. Yeah, you kind of know the faces and you learn the names But we started seeing this rash of like people no one had ever seen before. Just new dudes on the streets all the time looking just whacked out of their mind on God knows what. And
transients, that's not a good sign.
Well, they were bringing. We found out later that like parts of Cincinnati and Dayton were telling them about the food kitchen here, and they were all just dumping them off in Wilmington.
And, San Diego does that whenever Comic-Con rolls around. They'll fucking put them all on buses and ship them to other towns.
Well, it was just like South Park, where that was the joke, where it was, that the Colorado Springs was just passing their homeless on to South Park, and then South Park would have to find a way to bus all their homeless to California. And I was like, that shit's real life. That's not even a joke. Like, that's what was starting to happen a few years after that. That's just... And I mean, I don't have any better answers. I'm not going to lie. It's not like I'm some fucking genius. It's like, here's how we solve the homeless problem.
Right.
Well,
but I mean, I know that there are some that just have a really hard time, and I know that there are others because I mean, we have a healthy homeless population down downtown in my town here. And I've actually sat down and smoked a joint with a homeless dude before. So some of them, want help. Some of them just can't get their shit together, and some of them just don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
I mean, honestly, some of them just don't care. They're on a path to self-destruction. They're on a path to oblivion, and they don't care. They're just
if I didn't have like a wife, a kids, and all that stuff to deal with, I would definitely be down with being homeless. It sounds like a blast, but that's probably not true. But still, it's when it's just yourself you have to worry about. I can't blame people for being like, you know what?
Well,
I'm tired of paying all these bills. I'm just going to go live in a park.
Seriously, when it's just you, I mean, fuck it. It's just you. You can be selfish like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. How the hell did we get here, man?
Oh, dude, we've got time to kill. So we still got 10 more minutes to just talk about homeless people.
This is the serious damn conversation. What was the first comic book you picked up and read, and you were like, "Hot damn, this is what I want to fucking do"?
That's tough. I mean, I know the literal first book I got was a Batman comic. And when I say got, like the first one I went and picked out on my own that wasn't just like given to me by somebody. Because I already had comics that were gifted to me from older siblings or other relatives or yard sales or stuff my parents would find. So I already had like a little mix of a lot of 70s stuff.
Nice.
In terms of Marvel and DC. Start. Oh yeah, you did. You got, I got exposed to some really good artists before I even realized, who the artists were. But anyways, it was a Batman comic from like 1989, I think. And I don't remember the issue number off the top of my head, but it debuted the Queen of Hearts, this crazy chick that would go around with this drill dressed up like a queen, and she'd try to drill people's chest out to get their hearts out. And then she'd leave them in like little baby cribs, like these human hearts. Like, it was demented.
That is fucking trippy as shit, man.
That it stuck out to me though. Like, I still remember that issue clear as day because I was shocked as like a little 7 or 8 year old. And you know, it's a lot of stuff wouldn't fly now, but I'm kind of surprised it even did then because it was relatively graphic. And my parents, you know, they still thought comic books were like Archie or like your 1960s TV show Batman, like silly, goofy, slapstick stuff. They didn't even realize that, like, the stuff they were buying me from the drugstore was some of it was not really kid intended, even though it was bright colored and it looked like it was. So
yes,
they were shocked when they saw like curse words and all kinds of stuff in DC and Marvel books, and it's like, it's minor, it's just like hell and damn. But when you're like a, you know, super Christian-y parents and they think something's simple and then they feel kind of tricked by it.
Oh, believe me, no, I totally understand, man. I went to a Christian private school that was in a church, and my comic shop was literally across the parking lot from the church. So on my lunch break, I'd sneak out and I'd hot-footed over to the comic shop. I'd buy my comics, say hi to Vanessa, put them in my backpack, and then get back, you know, over there before they realized that was gone. And I would leave the comics in my bag until, you know, I got home, because I knew if they saw them, you know, they would, I'd never see them again. Because remember,
comics are the devil, D-E-V-I-L, devil.
Yep. Anyway. I'm over here like trying to find the first Batman issue that I had, because my first 3 comics were Batman, Spider-Man, and the Fantastic Four. I don't remember which issue of the Fantastic Four it was, and I don't remember the Spider-Man issue, though I'm guessing it probably had something to do with Doc Ock. There's an image in my mind of Doc Ock, and like I remember there being like a Spider-Ham backup story by what's his name? Why am I drawing a blank? He did all the cartoons. Hembeck, Fred Hembeck. There's a Spider-Ham backup story in the back by Fred Hembeck. And then the Batman issue was like this big pinball rolling down on Batman and Robin versus Two-Face. And I always remember staring at the cover because the artist drew the distortion of Two-Face's like monster face like in the ball, and it always just grabbed my eye. I always thought it was really fucking cool. So, yeah, man. So I get it. But were those the ones that like made you want to draw, or were those just the ones that you remember getting like initially? Like, what is there one that like specifically made you want to draw comics?
It's hard for me to pinpoint because I feel like there was never a time where I didn't want to.
Okay.
I was watching Superpowers. I was buying DC toys. I was buying, you know, Transformers and G.I. Joe and He-Man. You know, like, I was barraged with a lot of stuff as a kid. Yeah. But for some reason, even though Superpowers was ultimately had way less of an impression on me in the long terms of life as Transformers did, right. I still, that's a big thing that made me want to draw comic books, was I already knew who comic characters were. I'd already seen all these characters at my friends' houses. So, you know, like, DC Comics just seemed to be everywhere at every friend's house I was at. Like, nobody really had Marvel. I don't know if it was just a regional thing or what, but a ton of us had Batman and Justice League and Superman books. Superman especially, because we're still coming off the heels of the Superman.
The Richard Donner movies, yeah, the Christopher Reeves movies, of course. And, you know, you got to remember the TV series for Batman back in the 60s. That was huge. Like, there was an article, like, done, I think, in Rolling Stone, the 3 Bs of the 60s. The Beatles, something about boots or something like that, I think. And then Batman. So, I mean, Batman was an intrinsic part. I mean, granted, that's, like, kind of the goofy hippie version of Batman. But, you know, whatever. I mean, Adam West was fun.
Batman he's just beloved in just about any form he comes in. Like, even things that I'm not particularly fond of, I get why other people liked it, and it's fine with me. Like, it makes sense. You know, when people say, well, I really love the Nolan movies, I'm like, once they explain it, I go, okay, that's why I don't like it, but I get that's why you do like it. Yeah. And the old Batman series, as goofy and silly as it is, if you put it in the context of the time, like, that had to have been a pretty cool show. They didn't really have a whole lot. There'd been, one black and white, like, Superman TV show up to that point, maybe?
George Reeves had done the Superman black and white TV series in, like, the fucking 50s. And then, after the, success of Batman, I think that's what led to, like, Wonder Woman. And, Marvel did try in the 70s. They tried with the Hulk. Which was successful. I mean, that ran for a while, but they tried Spider-Man. I think Nicholas Hammond was the guy. Anyway, they just couldn't really capture the dynamicism of Spider-Man. I mean, they did pretty good, but, didn't quite get it.
I'll put it to you this way. Like, I was so accepting of anything comic book related. Growing up, like, it didn't matter. I liked it. It was comic book related. I would watch it and I'd sit there and I would love it just for the sake of what it was, even if it was terrible. And they reran the Spider-Man show on the Sci-Fi Channel in, like, 1995 for just a short period of time. And I remember catching it one day and realizing, and I'd wake up, like, every morning extra early just to catch this Spider-Man show. And even though it was awful, and I got frustrated by some of the costume things where you had, like, the wristband things, like, I still watched it and I was still pumped, and I would force myself out of bed for things like that. Like, Power Rangers was a little too late, but when it came to running across something comic related that I didn't know about, because I didn't even know about the show at that time, I just happened to see it and was like, I was so pumped.
I happened to, like, find a VHS tape at the library. I walked down to the library because I was bored one day, and what the hell is this? There's a Spider-Man live. What? So yeah,
yeah.
I would seek out more. I mean, I've got all of it now, but as a kid, I was just like, I had no idea. Why didn't somebody tell me? Like, what? But what else? The Japanese. The Japanese version of Spider-Man. Like, I found that, like, years later after that. That's the reason why we have Power Rangers in general anyway.
And that was influenced by Spider-Man?
Mm-hmm. That show that they made, that's what influenced the whole big robot thing, and at least from what I understand.
That's interesting.
That knows more, feel free to tell me I'm wrong, but...
well, that's the thing about Japan, is we fawn over them all the time for their creativity, because they are creative people, because it is such a competitive field with so many people in it over there. Yeah. It's such a thriving world that there is just massive amounts of competition. There's so much good stuff that good stuff gets swept under the rug. Now, that also means there's way more bad stuff, but we're going to ignore that for the sake of conversation.
When there's more quantity, there's obviously going to be more, hopefully there's more good quality, but chances are there's going to be a lot more shit quality.
Yeah. Well, the numbers go up on everything. Yeah. But it is strange finding out how much influence they took from the West, and not just America, like Europe. And it's strange to me how every time I hear a Japanese creator give you background on where their ideas came from, it's rarely from within their own country, outside of maybe some of their own mythology. And I found that interesting. It's like, we think they're so good at ideas, because they are, but we don't realize that they're just kind of getting influenced by all of our old ideas. And it's just an interesting circle. I never think about that until they explain it. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Dude was inspired by Pinocchio. I would have never guessed that when he was inventing, I don't know, Gundam or something ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, influence comes from all kinds of places, man. All kinds of places. So, speaking of influence, what were your influences? Let's see if I can do this smoothly. What were your influences for
Death?
Well, I can't match with your devil voice. It's hard to come off of your voice onto me. But anyways, well, devil voices are totally cool though, so I can't really stand against it too hard.
I've worked on it for quite some time.
Yeah. But my, I'd say like the core influences on this, like exempting all the stuff that just made me want to be a better creator. But for this book specifically, it would be Transformers, and the toy lines that they were derived from, which would be Microman and Diaclone, and Berserk's a big one. And basically any story that relates to like having a fighting spirit, so that like even if characters lose, they still have strength on their side. Like they're not perceived as weak because the fighting spirit prevailed, despite the fact that maybe they don't win every time. So you still see them as strong characters, you know, like anything that kind of falls in that realm. I always like.
Right. I mean, that's real life. You don't win all the fights. You know, not always.
When it's not quite underdog, you know, it's different because you can apply it to like any character status already. Mm-hmm. It's just if you want a character to be redeemable or just be liked right out the gate, that's an easy thing to apply to them. Like that's how, like, you know, bad guys in Dragon Ball Z got over. That's how Vegeta got over. He was a total asshole, but the dude had the fighting spirit.
9,000.
Yeah. Like he never stopped, even if he knew he was probably going to lose. And that's why people love those kind of characters, because we like characters that have a fighting spirit.
Well, I mean, and that's I mean, I haven't watched Dragon Ball in over a fucking decade, but yeah, that was Goku as well. I mean, Goku would never give up. I mean, that's eventually why Goku and Vegeta became friends, because they realized neither one of them gives up. And you know, and then the whole Bulma thing, which I guess I never got to in the story, but
well, a big part of like what makes Japanese wrestling even a lot more fun is that's such a basis for anything they want to give a big fight feel to. Is just both dudes have a fighting spirit to the point where you're not sure who to cheer for anymore. Like you don't care who wins and loses because you've got such a good show, and that's. You know, yeah,
they have a culture much more centered around like that whole like physical hand-to-hand combat rather than we do. We have guns instead.
Yeah,
which I mean is fine. I mean, didn't they used to have like dueling? Like, can't we just like have like dueling with paintballs or something like that? Anyway,
they very well could have. I'll just say this: we both have combat in our genetics. And that's not going to change anytime soon. Like that's just it's like
we're human.
If you breed enough dogs to go after sheep, you eventually get sheep dogs. That's the only reason they exist. That's why they're just born knowing how to do that one thing. Because they've just been genetically predisposed after years of breeding to have one job in life. And now you don't even got to train them. They just come right out their mom knowing how to do it. Even though a farmer had to train like 30 in a row and breed from them to get to that point. So. Yeah. You know, it's hand-to-hand combat's just a part of their culture. It's always going to be.
And I think it's cool. I think it adds to the stories that they make, because you know it's one of their high school sports is kung fu or Aikido or whatever, whatever martial arts style that they choose, but it's their high school sport, which is fucking awesome, I think. Yeah. But it I don't know, it leads to the whole tournament thing. Because we don't really have tournaments like that over here per se. I mean, we do, but not as much. It is much more of a thing over there.
But we do have Cobra Kai, and they don't, so they can suck it. We've got Cobra Kai.
Sweep the leg.
Yeah.
Sweep the leg.
Strike hard, strike first.
The fuck out of that echo button. I can see it now. So. I definitely see the Berserk influence. The piece that I grabbed for this for the thumbnail for this just kind of off the wall, man, crazy. So what's the basic story, or do you want to run the trailer first?
I mean, I guess you can run the trailer first. Now, fair warning, It does start quiet and get loud. So, just so you know, but it's, you can run it. It's only like 50 seconds. It's just for shock value.
Are you ready?
Okay, I didn't hear anything. Did you guys hear anything?
Yeah, I heard it loud and clear.
Okay, all right, cool. I didn't hear shit. Okay, man, I really got to get this audio thing figured out. Holy shit. Anyway, awesome. I dug the visuals though, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, in a nutshell, the book's. I'll just give you the beats on it because like getting into like the details of every name of character and all that's just going to get lost in translation until people actually have the book. But it's basically like a story about the family unit, the strength of the family unit, and them being stuck in the middle of the circumstance life has dealt them between like a savage world and a war-torn world. And that's how they will become strong and better people, just through bad times. So that's basically what it is in a nutshell. It's just a family unit survival story in the midst of terrible, terrible circumstance, and it making them better people.
In a sci-fi fantasy setting. Wow. All right. So, are we okay? Sci-fi fantasy. So, like we forward in future, like we gonna see spaceships. We gonna see. I mean, obviously, there's, this terrifying creature here, but is this dark fantasy like swords and sorcery? Are we talking?
Well, it's a story that kind of has a lot of that stuff. So much of it's like geared from like Bible mythology, even though it's you only get a little bit of that before I separate from it, and it's just me inventing my own stuff. It's still all steeped in that in an origin way. So there are angels, there is the supernatural, there's demons, there is a God. Like God and Jesus and planet Earth and all that are still real places here. It just doesn't take place on Earth. So,
okay, all right. So this is out in the universe somewhere. But, the same rules still apply.
Yeah. So there's basically it's the planet where God put all the creatures that were too big and too consuming for Earth. So it'd be a mishmash of just weird looking things that we don't know of, and biblically things like Leviathan or Behemoth, just creatures where it says he moved them, but we don't ever really got an answer on if that means killed them or ridded the planet of them, or like
they're
says
just
moved.
Gone.
Yeah, they are just gone.
Don't ask questions.
So this takes place on that planet. So it's basically a place already consumed with just creations that are just too big and too nasty for Earth. So a lot of them will scale big. Like trees will still be normal sized, but an average creature could be the size of 3 trees.
Okay.
Just out of the scale and the type of things they are. But yeah, the dude running there in those first few pages, we just call him Father for now because that's basically his role. And then he has a wife and a child, and they're basically on the run from their own tribe, and you'll see why in the book. But
okay,
what that does is
lead that.
To some degree, they're all variations. So yes, they're all styled the same. They all have bones protruding from them and skull facey type things and bug eyes that never blink, but their size and their scale is all different.
So we really are getting a creature book. Very cool.
In a lot of ways, yeah. It's basically the savage parts of nature meets a middle ground, which is archaic but with a little future. So almost like He-Man meets the super tech civilized.
Okay.
So you've got all three of those societies kind of clashing at once, and the character you see on the page, him and his family, are kind of stuck in the middle of all of it.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, and I see this is one of your angels coming to take a gander at what's going on down here on the planet.
Yeah. Basically, after the biblical flood has taken place, there was a handful of survivors that didn't make it to the ark, and this is where they've been dumped off, is on this planet, and she's just going there to kind of pay a visit to them. Let them know that, like, yeah, you kind of died, but you kind of didn't. But this is your last shot
here
at
now,
this, so don't fuck up. Yeah.
Make the best of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me what's going on with the three variations here, because your featured tier all the way. Ooh, there we go. Your featured tier all the way up here at the top is manga 3-pack. So you got 2 hardcover graphic novels. Ooh,
Yes.
hardcover. And then the manga size. So what's going on with the 3 different variations? Because you got color, you got straight black and white, and then you've got this tone variation.
Yeah,
So,
the gray one.
Yeah, what's going on?
Well, we'll start with the manga. Basically, it's still going to read like an American comic in terms of the direction you read it from, but it will be 5 by 7.5, so it'll be a manga-sized book.
Okay.
It'll fit on your shelf with all your other manga.
All right.
It will be all grayscale on the interiors with just a color cover. And it'll just basically, it's formatted like a manga, even though it's all still going to be read like in the normal direction we'd be used to. Then we have
it's going to be read like left to right instead of right to left.
Yeah.
Okay.
I tried to adjust that, but I had not thought of doing it that way until I was already like way deep into the artwork and a lot of finished stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
and trying to.
Yeah.
It was just tough trying to figure out how to get the panels to flip and the lettering to flip and making certain parts of it still make sense from page to page. And I was like, this is asking for trouble. If I do this again, I'll just have to think about it first.
I never thought about that. Like you just put the pages in the opposite order. Well, yeah, but I mean, there's a flow, there's an eye flow. I mean, yeah, no, I can imagine that would be that'd be hellacious. Trying to figure that out. I mean, it just adds a lot of extra work. That's what I mean by hellacious.
And I'm basically a one-man band for the bulk of this, so I couldn't. It's why I don't have a lot of stretch goals or anything like that, because I just cannot pile on any. Like, I can only tell people the only realistic thing is I can finish a book for you. Everything else is just gonna draw my attention away, and I have to get through this first. And if it goes well, then we'll see about doing more stuff where there's a little more merchandise and side items for people to pick from.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you gotta get the story out there first, So that's the featured perk. So $85 and the 2 hardcovers. So I guess I can extrapolate. One would be the full color version.
Yeah.
And then the other one is just straight black and white.
It's just line art, and those will both be in 7 by 10s. That's about as close to a comic book scale as I could get for hardback.
I mean, yeah, I mean. Let's see where. I mean, yeah, here it is. Dr. Sleepless from, Avatar Publishing, Warren Ellis. Yeah. I mean, it's about the size of a normal comic. Just you got a little bit of overhang because hardcover.
Yeah.
So very cool.
Yeah, that looked good. To me, that looks like a comic book still.
Yeah. I got to tell you, man, I dig the black and white. I like especially this page right here. I love the contrast on this page. The colors are beautiful. Don't get me wrong. Like they did a good job, adding glow and stuff. But there is something about a black and white comic that I really fucking dig.
I mean, I do too, and that's a big part of why I did that, because partially there was always a demand for it. Like, hey, if you ever do something on your own, make sure you offer a line art or a black and white, some version that's not colored. And I was like, yeah, that's something I would always plan on doing, because I put a lot of work into the line art, and it basically works like a guide for me when I go to color. So you are getting 2 pretty different things. Like I wash out a lot of the line art with color just for the sake of the book looking good in that format. So there are, I don't want to say dramatic differences, but in some cases, yeah, you're losing whole chunks of line art in the color one, just because they're getting overlaid with color.
Well, yeah, I mean, you do the color holds, and I mean, sometimes in order to have the colors do what they need. I really love like almost a flat color from back in the from back in the 90s, like, and have like little bits of flair here and there to just accentuate the line art. Like that's my favorite, synergy between, comic book line art and color.
And, I think that would still work well if comics were printed more on like pulpy paper. Like it really,
agree.
like the paper and all of it kind of came together to make that work. When I see like these reprint volumes or that Marvel does throughout the years, like I'm glad it exists because at least I can
absolutely.
see it and read it. But
Yes,
I hate
100%.
how the colors look now. They don't look right because they're all a tad too bright and they're on this bright glossy paper. And I don't want to tell Marvel make a cheap product, but at the same time, it's like this is cool, but it's not the same.
They don't even have to do that. They could just put go get a big thing of newsprint, right?
Yeah.
Scan that in at fucking 600 DPI. Put that in as a layer behind your fucking colors. Boom. Print the whole fucking thing as if it were newsprint.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see why that can't work.
Like, you can adjust it. You're just being lazy. That's all. What's up, Pops? How you doing? But yeah, the colors always look, overblown because they had to make them really saturated and vibrant because they were printing on newsprint, and then, they look wonky as shit when they reprint them on this glossy paper. Like Barry Windsor Smith's Weapon X. The colors on that look awful reprinted. But in the original, the original volume, they look fantastic. Even in the trade that I have from back in the day, on the non-glossy, just white paper, it's not a bright white. It's kind of just like a almost an off-white, but it's just like a dull white, I guess.
Yeah.
And even the colors there look good because they're subdued enough to not just be like, we're colors.
Well, yeah. And that's just something I guess we're going to run into over time. But I do have a soft spot for those old school colors like you do. If I ever did a book that I wanted to look that way, I would almost have to take like a newsprint, like a Peter Samedi approach to it.
Oh man, I do like the way Alterna's books look, like especially Voidwalker. I enjoyed that book quite a bit.
Yeah, they do good work together.
Yeah. So you guys have the three options. You can get the manga edition, the hardcover line art, or the color one, or you can get all of them for $85. And,
and it's a 300-page book too. It's a big book.
Holy shit, dude! 300 pages. Just like, all right, there it is.
300 story pages. Well, I've been trying to explain it to people as like I'm giving them a full season rather than a few episodes. So they're getting they're getting one like full story, so you can still be excited for the next book. But if you never buy the next book, you'll still be able to read that one and enjoy it all the same.
You'll have a full story. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So tell us a little bit about like what is the scope of this story? I mean, how many volumes, and will they all be 300 pages?
I think bare minimum they'll all be 300. I think it'll just always kind of waver in that realm. It'll either be a little lower or a little higher. Because even this one, I put 300 plus because it will wean past that a little bit, but it's because of stuff like you need like an inside cover page and a hardback, and then then there's like chapter breakup splash images. So yeah, it'll go.
So you've got chapters in here as well. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool.
I mean, I wouldn't.
Beauty. Go ahead.
I wasn't gonna do chapter breaks, except that I realized it would be fun. So I was like, well, why not? I can, so I might as well use. I got all this flashy images laying around. I'm not doing anything with. I can make these really cool, and I got some other guys that'll help with that. Like I talked to Shelby and Passion for Drawing, and they'll probably do like a crossover piece with me for a few of those chapter breaks. Yeah,
wicked, man. Yeah. I mean, and that's the beauty of making a book like this. You can control the pacing. You can have those chapter breaks in. You can let the story flow the way you need to. So you tell the story your way. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, 300 pages. That's you know, able to tell a solid chunk of story right there. You know.
Well, yeah, you can give everyone like a proper beginning, middle, and end,
Mm-hmm.
and there's still room to breathe afterwards if need be. You know, like I feel like that's a perfect amount of space to
Mm-hmm.
where you don't feel like you have to sacrifice some things that really should be there.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's gonna be a
So
big party book.
okay, so you got this volume one. So what? How many volumes are you? Do you? I know obviously you've got a second volume planned. You know,
Well, I've
but
got like an overarching theme that's like gonna cross like 8 to 10 volumes, hopefully.
mm-hmm. Okay.
Which obviously that's like 8 to 10 years of my life invested in it, so it all just depends on how well it does. But
Sure. Okay, but you've got a plan. You've
yeah,
got a serious plan for the story. Okay.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
want it. You know, it has a like a literal end, and that's just how far I'm trying to get. There's like I know what I want the
Okay.
final moment of it to be, and I know how I want it to wrap up, but I have to get through at least probably 8 or so volumes to get to that point. So it's kind of like how Cerebus was like, here's the 300 issues as his life story, and that's
Right.
what Sam felt he needed to tell that story. It's not so much an issue count for me. It's just like there's a realm of pages that I don't want to go too far over because it's too much, but I don't want to go too far under because like then I'm cutting. I'm not interested in doing a bunch of side books. Like here's the
Yeah.
backstory of this, here's this and that. Like I just want to give people one good solid thing. So if I got the
Okay.
room to do it, I'm gonna take it. I've been working on it for years, so I'm pretty far ahead at least.
Excellent.
And yeah, that's the catch too. Like I've been, people have been asking me to do this for like 3 or 4 years because everyone's
Mhm.
been seeing artwork from it forever.
Right.
And
Been
it's not
teasing
new,
away.
it's old news, but
Right.
that was
Well,
the
here it
thing
is.
was I had to make money at the same time, so I had to just try to chip away at this over the course of the years. I mean, I have to do little fixes here and there on things that don't really hold up now, but overall, I'm kind of fine with what I did the first time. So
Yeah.
it's nice to be ahead, but there's still a long way to go. I'm not out of the woods by any means. I'm about halfway in for the line work, and then I'm not real deep in on color or lettering. Obviously, I got to take out a flatter here once the money comes to me, and then that will start getting bashed out real quick.
That'll help. That'll
Yeah.
help. That'll help speed it up. What's up, Apex? What's up, Brian? Brian, I'm doing okay right now, man. Neck's not killing me just yet.
He's been banging his head for over 30
Yeah.
years. Luke has the muscles in his neck
Got
of a
the
steed.
fucking, George Fisher neck from Cannibal Corpse. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It wasn't nothing for you. It was the car that got injured, not you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's what a fucking day. Holy fuck. Oh. Anyway.
I'm not trying to laugh at your pain. It's just sometimes
I know,
reaction.
but it's just I feel bad because like that's my car, that's my Batmobile, and I don't know. I'm mad that somebody scuffed my fucking ride, yo.
Well, we need to crowdfund you a NAR-ass 1988 Camaro. I don't even know if there is an 88 Camaro. Let's go with a Pontiac. Let's get Luke a 1990 Pontiac Trans Am. It'll be badass. It'll be slick but with squared edges like
as long as we can put a fucking Firebird on the hood for no reason.
Yeah.
Just because.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Yep. My Shadow Cat. That's
I'm
that's
gonna
the name of my car.
airbrush DeathMetalHero across the side of the car
Excellent.
in neon colors.
Oh shit. So okay. Okay. So you guys can get the line art and color 2-pack. So you guys got options. Are there any kind of like bookmarks or trading cards? Is there anything going to be?
No, none of that.
Okay. This is
Not
straight
rolling
up
out for the
campaign.
future. But yeah, this is I'm trying to make my money strictly off the book here, so all I have to deliver is strictly the books. just because I'm limited on who I've got around me to also participate in this. We have King Toad Studio has a handful of employees, but these are creatives that don't live anywhere near us.
Right.
So I can't. There's not much I can do with that. Those guys are busy with their own work that we've already got them on.
Well, sure, man.
And this is my thing, anyways. So I'm a little weird and picky about it. So.
Totally understand. I mean, and like you said, you're one man army in this, and I imagine they are doing much the same where they're at.
Exactly. Everyone's got enough on their plate, but I do have a stretch goal
right here, man. This bottom panel.
Yeah.
The armor, the rain. I mean, it's cool. There's a lot going on, but it's very cool.
Well, those are like the old school, like what's left of the Atlantians, like during the flood. Like this is like the last like 8 or 10 people left in the city that have tried to hold out, just seeing the water rising and being like, yeah, I don't think this is going to stop.
I think we might need to abandon her, Captain.
Yeah. Well, everyone's already abandoned and been killed. So it's like, what do we do? If we leave, we die. If we stay, we die. You're in a lose-lose situation. So. Right.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, and their fathers are all just angels, naughty angels from the Genesis era that were messing with the DNA of humans and animals and plants and all that. So, they're already like a weird bunch of human-looking people, but they're the thing that gives you the humans in the book. So you get a little something that's human-esque at least.
Okay. And then this looks like a dead or dying transformer right here. Is that accurate up here at the top?
Sure. It's it might as well be. Eventually certain creatures on this planet will get mechanized as they're dragged further into the war. So, the Atlantians came to this planet and they built a technological world. So when they snag up some of these planetary creatures to use for whatever reasons they please, eventually trying to drive around giant mechs with a tiny pilot, it was just too much gear, too much weight on one thing with such a tiny person moving it. So let's take these giant critters and try to mechanize them so that they're, they can still have some speed and some agility in these things with the weight they're carrying, since they're already used to living at that scale.
Right.
And they're not 10 zillion pounds of gears and wires trying to move itself around.
With a lot of shit that can go wrong.
Yeah, they're basically like involuntarily put into a defense program, you could say. They have no choice in the matter.
All right, now if you guys want to see the difference between the different color jobs, for lack of for the different variations, look at this page here, and then look at that panel with the creature. I mean, that actually adds a lot to the floor there. I didn't realize that was a bunch of I guess a bunch of blood from that. Yeah. It looked like, I thought it was kind of like some sparks or something, but now I see the bodies there. So, I mean, there's definite, and the colors. Oh, wow. So there you guys see the different variations, and it, of course, is going to make it really hard to choose. So that's why the featured perk.
Featured pack, Get all 3 of them. You'll save a little bit on shipping and on the actual price of the books on those. It's not dramatic, but I knocked a little bit off for both options on the multi-packs just to give a little value to it for people willing to commit to it.
That's awesome. Yeah. And then are these... Oh, yeah, that's right. You're not doing cards. I'm just saying. I mean, you could totally do, that as a trading card. I'm just saying, or, this on a shirt. Because that's, I love the contrast of this whole thing.
Right.
On the black background, and this would look baller as fuck.
My business partner's looking into some merchandise options that would be more through a store or something like that. So if we do it, it'll probably be through that outlet just to keep the work off of me of dealing with it. to where
Oh,
I
for
can
sure.
maybe it out to someone else. And at
Well, I
that
mean,
point, it's just a matter of me making the final word on the yays and nays.
oh yeah, print on demand stuff, man. I mean, look into that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the easiest way to make sure people get stuff at a decent price, and that way you don't have to, do everything yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially when you're doing everything yourself already, having to add one more thing that you have to do. I mean, we've got to learn to delegate things every now and then.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we got to find good people that can do shit. So.
And it's nice after a while too. You get too cushy with it. Like I mow my own yard like 3 times out of the entire summer.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the time I'm calling up dude and being like, "Yo, come over here and do this." Like I really don't want to mow the yard. Like I've mowed the yard my whole life. I'm sick of it. And it's your job anyways, and you like getting money for it. So come over here and let me.
I would
give
rather
you money.
pay you. It is worth it for me to pay you because my time is more well spent doing this thing over here. This is why you hire somebody to do a job like that. Yep. Yeah, 100%. So this is you as well. So you.
Yeah.
Wow. So
early on.
Yeah.
Yeah, like years ago when I was first playing around with this, I thought it would be fun to do something that was like clearly like manga anime.
Oh, for
like
sure.
Like rip off like Akira Toriyama mixed with a few other things. So
the face is definitely Akira Toriyama, but I mean some of the muscles look very Ed McGuinness and like the body poses.
Yeah, I just kind of threw a mishmash of everything in the book at it, but I was like, I'm going to just do these kind of like fun takes on if it was totally anime-ized. And I had those images were actually always really popular. Like people like those more than they did my regular art. But
well, I mean, and then the coloring job definitely helps sell it as anime, which is cool.
Yeah, well, I had met this dude on Twitter named Jaro, and he had hit me up to see if he could color a pic one day, and I was like, sure. And he did such a banging job on it that he did a few other things for me because he does this really nice, cell animation style of coloring. Yeah. And there's a lot of people that can do it, but it's also one of those things where some people just have a touch. Like they just know right when to stop or not go too far or go a little further. Like they know where the lines are at on everything.
They feel it. They feel it out. Yeah.
And that's the kind of colorist he is. Like he enhances artwork. So
that's what a good colorist does.
Yeah.
That's what my boy Inkspots does. That's what Matt Yackey does.
Oh yeah, Inkspots does some insane color work. Like I'm not even sure how he does some of it. Like I know, but I don't know. So
he's a mad bastard. That's how.
Yeah. But yeah, he Jaro ended up doing the that first image too that looks more like a movie poster where it's that picture but it says death over top of it. And yeah, he's just a cool dude where I try to use him whenever I can, and I'd like to, be able to employ him all the time someday. 'Cause it's been really tough finding colorists. Like I've hacked out so much money for test pages on color. And from guys that really look like they would have knocked it out of the park, and they just struggled with it, and I understood why. But you get to a point where you can only keep trying to guide people so much on on things where there's language barriers, there is there's just stuff that makes it difficult. And it's like, man, I wish this was just someone I could talk face to face to and it would help move this along. But these are foreigners that I can only talk to through text in some cases. Some are American, but
yeah,
it's just, yeah. And even Jaro, he lives in Japan, but I think he's American though, originally. So he's easy to communicate with, but,
I mean, that communication is key.
Well, and I know like what I want to do with the color at this point. So it's just better if I can like have someone do flats, because even let's say they just use the color palette and do flats wherever they feel like. I can still select and tweak and change that real quick. So as long as there are flat colors that are all separated, I really don't care what the colors are. I just need someone to color in the lines for me to get that part out of the way. Because rendering is easy. It's quick. If I have someone flatting and I get like 3 to 5 flatted pages back, I can knock that many out in the render process in a work day.
Nice.
But if I'm the one doing the flats myself, we're talking maybe
flats
2
take fucking
pages.
forever, man.
Yeah. So That's why I'm like, I just need, there's dudes out there that know how to like just blast through them. It's insane. There's one guy I'll probably go to. You can literally send him like 5 and 6 pages, and he'll have flats back to you by the end of the day on all of them. I'm just like, how does he do this so quick and so efficiently? And people have given me tips and told me, but I'm like, yeah, but I do that, and it's not helping me to the degree as them. Like, there's something they're doing to make it work better for them that I'm still missing here.
It's just there's an efficiency, and like you said, some people just get it.
It's got to be hotkeys or something, because like I suck with hotkeys because I don't like using them. But
I mean, I actually have a programmable keyboard that I use if I can pull this up without knocking over all kinds of shit on the desk. But it's been that kind of day, so we'll fucking see. This is a Razer Tartarus, and you can program this with every keyboard shortcut that you need in in Photoshop or whatever program. It's supposed to be for gaming, but I mean you can use whatever the hell you want.
Hey, yeah, why not?
Yeah. So yeah, I've got all my keyboard shortcuts on that. The problem is sometimes I forget which buttons do what.
Yeah, I believe that. Especially if it's stuff you don't use constantly.
Yeah.
I'm sure like undo buttons or things to cycle through tools or levels. It's like that's probably second nature at this point. But yeah.
Oh yeah, the undo, save. Like I mean, it's undo and save are right next to each other. So if I'm not hitting undo, I'm hitting save every now and then. I've lost way too much work accidentally. Just not saving all that often. When I went to design school, they drilled in our heads save and save often. Save and save often. But yeah, no. Didn't do it a few times, and definitely paid the price for it later. So, all right, we're gonna get down to this last. Oh, that's badass. And then that was the image in the trailer up there.
Yeah. Yeah, I've only set one stretch goal thus far. I might add more later. But yeah, people have been begging me for original art, and I'm like, no, I'm keeping it. And they kept on begging, so I said, all right, well, every so often when we're hitting financial hills that we need to get over, I'll throw a piece up. I'll give everyone heads up ahead of time so they can all be prepared, and one piece will go up, and everyone will have to fight for the one. And then maybe at 20K, I'll put another piece up. Maybe at 30K. Oh, man.
Damn. All right.
I don't want to give up any of it. I really don't, because this is the only... I've coughed up almost all my original work throughout life. You do get detached from...
This is your book. If you want to hold on to that artwork, you damn well hold on to that motherfucking artwork. Steve Ditko held on to all of his Spider-Man artwork. And you know what he did with it? He used it all as a fucking cutting board for shit. Like he fucking
I'm not
ripped
saying anything. Yeah.
I'm just saying, that's your artwork. You do whatever the hell you want with it, man. You're the one that spent the blood, sweat, tears, and time making it. So, you could make a piece of artwork for the campaign.
I thought about that too. Yeah, it's like, here's the catch, though, is I'm still doing like regular work to make money.
Yeah.
So like, I really have to like be careful on the what I will and won't do's right now. And it's because I'm still doing some covers. I'm still doing like small run interiors if it's like 5 or 6 or 7 pages. I'm doing a project for a Passion for Drawing called Tales of Novaterra, and it's like a old school like fantasy magazine from back in the day when they had like black and white fantasy comics and Conan the Barbarian type shit. And but it's all based around his Doom Fate universe. And I did like a 7-piece set and a promo full spread for that. And
so
that's
like
going to be awesome.
Tales and shit like that. Savage Sword of Conan, Savage Tales, yeah. That's going to be fun.
So I'm still doing work all over the place. Like, people are going to be barraged with my stuff over the next year and a half because everyone's sitting on something from me they just haven't launched yet or used or talked about. So you're gonna get Bullet Maker, you're gonna get Tales of Novaterra, you're gonna get at least like 3 covers on other books, plus Death. Plus I'm doing a book with Yellow Flash that we're just starting to plan and plot on.
Oh,
So,
shit.
and that's going to be closer to like, real manga. So
Okay.
it's going to be a little different from me for what people are used to. It'll still be the detail level, but it'll all be drawn in a Eastern fashion. So
Interesting.
yeah.
That reminds me, last weekend I have to open here for Michael T. I have to open the shop tomorrow. uh, but yeah, last weekend I had 3 separate families come in with their teens looking for manga. And we don't really carry manga, we carry comics. We had somebody bring in a collection of, kind of weird manga, but I mean, a lot of it's weird.
Yeah.
And we've sold through quite a bit of it, but we have like this really weird leftover collection. I think there's a bunch of Love Hina. Like, what the fuck is this?
No, when I had my
Eerie
shops,
Query.
yeah, we used to have manga that we had to keep behind the counter on a shelf, and we'd have to ID people if they wanted to
Oh yeah, I
see
don't
what
think
those
any of it's
comics were
lewd. It's
about.
on the half price wall, and we have people that order whatever stuff they want. I mean, you order your previews order is private unless you want to share it.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't know, and that's the first time that has happened. Like I used to get questions about manga every so often. So now that 3 in one day, and it was like within an hour and 20 minutes. And I'm just like, okay, that might be a sign. So
Well,
I am.
it's weird because it boomed in the late '90s there, with the advent of Cartoon Network showing off so much of it after school and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Those like time
Well, I
slots.
mean,
So I thought it was still like as big as ever. I didn't realize it had boomed, kind of eased down, went steady, like in terms of the West, and then went through another like boom phase, like the last 10 years. So
well, I
it's
mean, a lot more are reading the manga now as opposed to watching the anime. I mean, the anime it boomed with Toonami.
you're
And that's what
right,
got me into
yeah,
Dragon
yeah.
Ball Z. But I mean, Sci-Fi Channel used to have their Saturday Japanime.
Yep.
And I used to watch that. It's what you watch after the X-Men goes off the air.
That's where I
Those
saw Akira, Wicked
Yep.
City,
Yep.
Ghost in the Shell, Ninja
Yep.
Scroll, like basically every
Actually,
hit film you
Ghost in
can
the
think of.
Shell and Armitage 3 I rented from Blockbuster first. I saw Akira first on Sci-Fi and then rented it from Blockbuster. Saw Ghost in the Shell and Armitage 3 on VHS, uncensored VHS first. And then
I think that's how most people went about it back then. You saw it once somewhere else, maybe came across it in the video store, but once that little shelf of anime started to grow, it was
there
cool because
there
it
was
was
a
all
whole
this.
like
Yeah.
aisle in the Blockbuster we had, man.
Dude,
And I
I
would
don't
just go
remember
down
if
there.
Armitage the third was good, but I remember
Uh,
watching it like 100 fucking times, like
Yeah.
back in the like late '90s, early 2000s. I used to rent that so much as like Akira and Armitage were the two I always got, just because I wanted to watch again, and then I get like one or two others just to
Oh
see
yeah.
what they were about.
Demon City Shinjuku, like
Yeah.
all this stuff. I mean, I completely raided the entire anime section of the Blockbuster, and like they never really got anything new in, but yeah. So I kind of around I guess it was the Frieza saga, at the end of the Frieza saga on Toonami for Dragon
Yeah.
Ball Z. I was like, all right, well, I'm curious to see how far this goes on after this. So I looked it up on the internet, and I guess that was a bad idea because I saw that it went on for fucking ever. And I was just like, yeah, I don't have time for this. I dropped it, and I kind of dropped anime in general. And also, the way I was drawing back then, it was getting more and more like anime, and I didn't like it. So
Yeah.
I just kind of stopped watching it altogether. However, Cowboy Bebop and Trigun are still two of my favorite series, and Those Who Hunt Elves.
Well, they were good in their time. It's even in anime, you got to kind of you got to pick the pearls out of the shit. Because you never, back in those days, you didn't really know what you were getting into with a lot of it. There weren't a lot of places to read reviews. You just kind of had to play guesswork in Suncoast or Blockbuster with what you were getting. And I mean, there were at least a handful where I was just like, I remember by the end of it, I was like, I don't even know what, if anything happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was so zoned out of it, or just could not comprehend what I was even looking at. Because it was low quality. I just didn't know it was low quality crap.
Oh yeah, I mean, you
so
don't
I was
have a point
spoiled
of
by
reference.
things like Akira, you know.
Yeah. Yep. Apparently YouTube is having some fucking issues this evening. That's not surprising. Man, when that anime dam burst, it was awesome. Before all that Japanimation came out in a trickle on VHS. Yeah, I remember we had a what was it, Suncoast Video or something like that. They sold videos in there. Like they sold VHS tapes and like movie posters and music and all that. Like a FYE for your entertainment thing. Anyway.
They were the only place with a wall of anime, though. Like it just kept growing and growing to the point. Yeah.
Here, hang on, I'll show you. All right. So this is what I got from that VHS place.
Stacks and stacks of DBZ VHS.
X, Fist of the North Star, Street Fighter. I kept going. You know the reason why I have a bunch of these extra ones is because I kept going in looking for fucking Ninja Scroll, and they never had the fucking. So I had to get something. So I got Fist of the North Star, I got Street Fighter Alpha, I got X, and yeah, you know, Dragon Ball Z. But these are the first 3 DBZ movies with the original voice actor. Aha. Anyway, like I always say, have your physical media because they can change digital shit. But also take care of your physical media. Don't drop it on the floor like I just did.
Also, throw your physical media at the wall and curse at it.
You know what? Every now and then you gotta test its durability. That way it doesn't fall to frailty.
Yeah.
That sounds good. That's what we're gonna go with. All right, you guys out there, do you have any questions for Mr. Balla here about
death?
They probably don't.
You know what? I can't even hear what I'm doing with this echo thing. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it later. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with this. Hopefully, it's fun.
Oh, it sounds cool.
Thanks.
Yeah,
that's what I'm going for. In my head it sounds cool. Hopefully,
you could cool get some great comedic timing out of it in the future, like if you feel a good joke coming on where a devil voice is highly inappropriate. Then you definitely use it. Like, if the joke's inappropriate and the voice makes it even more inappropriate, then that means it'll be ultimate funny, and you have to just strike and go for it while the iron's hot.
Oh, behave.
Let's see. Don't Shane Davis your VHS collection. Yeah. No, I'm trying not to. I'm just. Hopefully I can put them back up there without destroying them. Anyway, Fist of the North Star is my shit, but the dub on that is horrific. Yeah, fair. Fair. A lot of fun. Yeah, I got a question. When am I getting my book? When are you expecting to ship out?
I put the fulfill date at December 2022. So I gave myself like an extreme amount of time on purpose.
Right.
But hopefully sooner than that. I'd like the last to be trickling into people by then. You know.
Gotcha.
Like I'd like the overseas backers to have it in their hands by that time.
Yeah, so everybody will have it. Okay.
Yeah, I'd like it to be rolling out around like October 2022 ideally. Just so it's all getting there quick enough to where I want to know everyone's got it by Christmas. I would love if it could arrive Christmas Day for everybody, but we know just life doesn't work like that.
Right. But I mean, having it show up, you know, like the week before or the week before that, you know, ain't nothing wrong with that. You know, it can still be there under the tree, nestled with care.
I just, you know, the way things go in this country, shit can change by the hour. So I'm just hoping to God, like, things are in a good enough spot by then and that the elections aren't totally ravaging the postal system again. So.
Yeah, but hopefully my mail's been all kinds of fucked up this past year, but hopefully there won't be any of that nonsense.
There's always other shipping options. You know, the post office ain't the only one. There's stable places like UPS and FedEx and even true. smaller joints. So I'll work it out either way for what's best to making sure it gets there in one piece to people.
Excellent. All right, guys. Well, if there are no more questions, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you guys for hanging out with us here this evening.
Yes,
Joe, thanks for coming to hang out, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
Not a problem, man. I appreciate you reaching out. So we're going to go ahead and
get out.